Hello, my lovely students. I'm going to conduct my lesson in Prospect Park because I think it's quite apropos, I guess, of what I'm going to be teaching today. So, firstly, my name is Violet Evergreen, and I've been a practicing witch for over 30 years. And I've been working with animal guides since I was a child. And I'm going to take you first through my experience with animal spirit guides. So when I was a child, I would see a rabbit in my crib with me. And that was my first experience with an animal spirit guide. And later on, as I got a little bit older, I would see the rabbit in the garden and in other places as well. And I developed a deep relationship with animals in general since I was very small. I naturally connected with them. And that's what I'm here also to help teach you, is to create that bond with the natural world, which as humans, we've spent a few centuries trying to separate ourselves from it for various reasons within our cultures. Now, one thing I do want to say firstly is that we hear terms for animal spirit guides that we should try and stay away from because they are harmful to Indigenous people. It takes away from their culture. And those terms are spirit animal, animal totem, and power animal. I will not be using any of those terms. I have other terms for the animals, and I will be explaining those throughout the course. And I normally just call them animal spirit guides or animal guides. Now, animal spirit guides have different kinds of guides, and I'll get to that in a moment. So going back to my own journey with it, as I got older and started really coming into my gifts and understanding that I was a psychic and a medium, I started seeing more animal spirit guides coming into my life, and they all corresponded with what I was going through. For example, when I really started practicing witchcraft, the owl came to me, specifically a barn owl. And she's been with me pretty much since I would say about 19 years old. And then a little bit later on, as I progressed into a more solitary and on my own kind of role and also teacher role, I started to have this relationship with wolf, and my wolf then turned into two wolves when I really started teaching later on in my life. And also at a point in my life later on, probably in I would say like in my 30s, a fox came into my life, and the fox has constantly a struggle for me, only because foxes are, at least in my life, are about timing, and I'm still trying to get timing right. So it's like a lifelong lesson. So to start with, what is an animal spirit guide? An animal spirit guide is a guide that appears in the form of an animal, generally a wild animal. Some people actually do have domestic animals as their guides. Some people who do work with animal spirit guides would say that that is not a thing, but I think that is actually not true, because I've experienced through other folks who have relationships with cats or with dogs in animal spirit. And it's just as valid. All animals are valid as a guide. They all have their own gifts to share. And I like to use the term gifts more than medicine, because again, that's used more by Native peoples. So I normally will use the term gift or challenge in a way that the animal spirit guides will share their abilities to cope with challenges, to move forward through life, to strategize, to deal with things in a certain emotion, with certain emotion. So we'll be talking about all of that. And yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really fun journey for you. We'll definitely be covering not only what each guide is, but we'll be talking about how to connect with them, how to spot them, how to identify them, the different forms of identification. We'll also have a guided meditation to help you meet your animal guides if you have not met them. And we will also have an exercise in shapeshifting so that you can become one with your animal spirit guide. So stay tuned. So animal spirit guides are actually found in many, many cultures. They're not just part of Native American cultures, but they're part of not only other indigenous cultures, but also pagan cultures like the Celtics and the Norse peoples. They incorporated animal guides as part of their practices. The tribes of Europe also had their own beliefs in animal spirit guides. And every culture assigns different attributes to each animal within their culture. And one is not right over the other. They're all right. And something that I do want to talk about is about how animal spirit guides, people like to assign a definition to them. Every animal spirit guide comes to each person for a very specific reason and for a very specific life. And some of us have animal guides that come with us throughout different lifetimes. And like any spirit guide, they're there to guide you. They act in the same way as any human or non-human guide would. They want to help you live your best life and meet the challenges that you put upon yourself before you even arrived here. You can't assign one definition to animal spirit guides because each guide works differently with each person, and that is up to each individual to figure that out, what that means to them. So firstly, let's talk about the different kinds of guides. So first guide is familiars. And familiars in the sense that I'm speaking of, because familiars have many definitions. Some familiars are considered human familiars in witchcraft, and it's someone that you work with regularly in your magic. But the familiar that I'm speaking of is much like what we see in a lot of the movies, where an animal in your life, a physical animal, your pet perhaps, is here, incarnated, to help you. And generally, that animal spirit guide, as your familiar, will help you with your magic, will help protect you from any other spirits that might try to cause you harm. They will intervene in any psychic attacks. They basically are your bodyguard on this earth. in this plane. And that's probably the best way to describe that. And animal spirit guides that do incarnate as your familiars tend to live a very long life. Generally, when you hear somebody go like, oh my God, my cat lived till like 25, or in my case, my dog lived till he was 18. These animals stick around as long as they can to be with you because they want to support you and protect you as much as they can. And a lot of times these spirit guides actually will come again in different lives to help you and protect you. Animal spirit guide that is your familiar can take on the burden of negative energies that can even manifest as illness. So sometimes if you find your pet getting sick a lot, it might be also because they are taking on the negative energies that were meant for you. And they are great protectors in that form as well. The next thing is to explain the differences between animal spirit guides that are not incarnated in this lifetime, but truly act in spirit. And one of them, which I like to call, are transient guides, transient animal spirit guides. And I call them transient because, as the word implies, they're not here permanently with you. As opposed to what I like to call your birth spirit animal guide. And that is an animal spirit guide that is with you, that made a contract with you to come into this lifetime with you. So a transient animal spirit guide is an animal spirit guide that comes in for a set amount of time at some point in your life. And it could be, for example, you're starting a new job, or you're moving, or you're having trouble in a relationship, and all of a sudden this guide starts appearing. And the guide can stick around for a week, 3 months, 10 years, the rest of your life. It depends, because they're here because you also made a contract with them for them to come and help you in one of your life's lessons. So we have all these relationships with these spirit guides because we set up our lessons before we were born into this lifetime. And before we got here, we had our team of guides, and they could be our human guides, our ancestors, they could be the animal guides, they could be fairy guides, they could be angels. There are so many types of spirit guides. So animal spirit guides are highly intelligent, like any other spirit guide, and they are also very tenacious in the sense that they will fiercely not only protect you, but when they are transient and you're not seeing them and you're not acknowledging them and you're not taking on the lesson or using their gifts to get through your lesson, they'll keep showing up until you figure it out. They'll keep showing up and showing up and showing up until you finally go, oh, I keep seeing a fox over and over again. I wonder why. And then if you do a little research, you'll understand why. We'll get to that. So then there is your birth animal. So your birth animal spirit guide is with you from the moment you step into this realm and onto this plane in your body. You made a contract or an agreement with them to come with you. And this guide sometimes tends to be a guide that will be with you throughout lifetimes, much like you're familiar. Your animal spirit guides that come into this world with you, they are your guardians, your protectors, your teachers. And you have such a relationship with them that you can call on them whenever you want. And if you are afraid and you need help with something, you can call on them. If you feel like something's off and you want protection, you can call on them to protect you. You can call on them even to protect you in your dreams. You can call on them to keep you company when you're ill. Your animal spirit guides are not your pets, but they have the relationship with you of unity, of understanding, much like an actual animal in your life would. It is a very close relationship. It is a very dear relationship. And you should treat it with respect.